he thinks when he's not there, we need that business.
Welcome, everybody. Excited to see so many folks that are flooding in right now. Great to see some familiar names. Appreciate you all for joining us this afternoon. We'll get started in just a second. I want to give folks an opportunity to log in this afternoon. Just a few more seconds. We'll get started. Awesome. Well, thank you all again for joining us this afternoon. We are thrilled to have some experts for you all lined up to give you just a glimpse into their design and implementation of teacher registered apprenticeship programs. My name is Ashley Osborne. I'm a senior partner with the National Center for Grow Your Own. And at the National Center for Grow Your Own, I'll just give you a glimpse into what we do. At the National Center for Grow Your Own, we focus on working alongside state agencies as well as school districts and educator preparation program providers to design and implement high quality teacher registered apprenticeship programs, as well as principal registered apprenticeship programs and the newly approved lead teacher registered apprenticeship program. We are thrilled to be able to expand the high quality preparation pathways for educators because, as you can see here on the screen, we really believe that every child should have not only the teacher that they need, but the teacher that they deserve. So today, as I mentioned, we have an all-star cast for you all. We have 4 top experts in that are practitioners. They are doing this work, boots on the ground, just like many of you all that are attending today. And so they are going to share their experience, their lessons learned, and just exactly how they have pursued becoming a teacher registered apprenticeship program. So with that, we're going to welcome our first guest, Dr. Wendy Nash. Dr. Wendy Nash is with Houston Independent School District in Houston, Texas. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to you, Wendy.
Thank you, Ashley, so much for the warm welcome. I really appreciate that. I'm super excited to be here with everyone today. I am Wendy Nash. I'm the Director of Teacher Pathways at Houston ISD, and I have been in education about 22 years. I think I lost count somewhere. But the only reason I'm sitting here 22 years later is because of the people who poured into me as a first-year teacher. And so I'm thrilled to get to live and be in the work that I love every day and the work that pays that forward and supports our future teachers in Houston ISD. As we get started, I wanted to share just a little bit about Houston ISD. Houston ISD is the largest district in the state of Texas. And so you can see that we serve a high number of students in a 300 square mile area. And with those students comes a diverse set of needs, right? For each of them has something different that they need. We have over 10,000 teachers in the classroom, and those teachers are charged every day with supporting the needs of those students. And so we think about how we support them in a way that we can ensure that our students are getting strong instruction every day and we're focused on student outcomes. And so that is why part of the work that we do every day is one of my favorite things, is because no matter where we are, we're focused on our students. We do have 273 campuses in the Houston area, and so because we are so widespread, those campuses also have diverse needs. And one of the things that Houston ISD is doing is we are focused on providing that strong instruction for students every single day, whether it is the first day of school, the last day of school, or any day in between. And that includes our brand new teachers and their first day of instruction. And so we want to make sure that our students have that strong instruction from every teacher. So it's not a secret. I wanted to go ahead and get this out of the bag, right? It's not a secret. Houston ISD was under a state takeover We call that the transformation. And so before we began our transformation, we had 45% of our schools that were rated as D or F campuses. And so if you're not familiar with how campuses are rated in the state of Texas, they're rated similar to a report card on an A through F system. And so D and F campuses are completely unacceptable, and Houston entered the transformation. In that transformation, from the top down, the bottom up, we are all laser focused on student strong instruction every single day for every student. So now, no matter where you live, what zip code you're in, you can be sure that your students are getting strong instruction that is aligned across the district. 2 years into the transformation, we can see that what we're doing works, because when we started, we had 56 schools at an F rating. Today, we have no schools at an F rating, 0 schools, and only 7% of our campuses are at a D rating. So the improvement that we have made has been to jump up to 74% of our campuses being A or B rated. So we're extremely proud of that progress and that success, and we will continue to drive and be laser focused on our students and their instruction every day. As we think about how we are preparing our first year teachers to provide that strong instruction, we actually launched a Grow Your Own program within Houston ISD. And so to do this, we launched an RFA where universities would apply for the different opportunities that we offered. And so to do this, I think, Ashley, you might need to click. I've got some transitions on here. Nope, they're not coming up. Okay. So to do this, we started out with $1 million investment in our grant that would go to Texas universities. And so through that application process, they submitted their applications, and then we sat down with them and talked about, what does this look like for our partnership? And how is that going to play out so that our future HISD teachers can benefit through this? So we ended up with, go ahead and click again so the rest of the slide will come up. There we go. All right, so through this Grow Your Own RFA, we got 24 applications from multiple universities, most of those here in the state of Texas, and they were getting their 2-year degree. So the degree in their junior and senior year, down to around an average of $13,000. So at $13,000 with our $1 million grant, that would create an opportunity for 227 no-cost opportunities. In the end, and universities could apply for different $100,000 grants within that application. And so in the end, Texas Women's was the university that we partnered with, and we had our top 3, and Grow Your Own only emerged with the 1, and that's okay. We still work closely with our other partners, and we're currently developing some additional Grow Your Own programs. But Texas Women's picked up 5 of the awards at $500,000. And so we are up to 68 candidates over the past 2 years, and we're excited to keep expanding that. So our goal is to hit 95 this upcoming year, and we are on track to meet that. So Texas Women's picked up $500,000 because they were awarded multiple grants through this award. So I wanted to give you a picture of what it looks like to be a Grow Your Own participant or a participant through our pipelines for a future Houston ISD teacher. We've got our students, of course, that start at 0 to 60 hours. So those are your traditional student. So they typically work as paraprofessionals or non-degreed staff in our schools, earning that salary of $24,500. They enter for us, Grow Your Own is that 60 to 90 credit hours. And so at that time, they are in their junior year of university coursework. They are an HISD non-degreed staff member. So we've had different people come through the system. We've had bus drivers, we've had teacher assistants, we've got learning coaches, all different positions come through the Grow Your Own. But they do need to be an HISD staff member to enter that Grow Your Own program. And so when they enter that program through that $500,000 that went to Texas Women's, when we partner with those students with Texas Women's in their junior year, we're able to provide a zero cost degree for them through that $500,000 investment. And so $500,000, I think it sounds like, wow, that's a lot of money. And not everybody has that $500,000. We initially used our COVID funds to kick this off. But this can be started with whatever the budget is, right? $100,000 even could do this, 150,000. And so it doesn't have to be the 500,000. You just need to find that money to provide these opportunities. And so when they are in their junior year, they attend Texas Women's University online. They are reporting to campuses 5 days a week, serving in their paraprofessional role or their non-degreed staff role. And then HISD is covering the cost of their books, tuition, test fees, all of the expenses that come from trying to earn a degree. And we're really passionate about removing that barrier for our non-degreed staff and ensuring that they can find a way to achieve their dreams and earn a wage at the same time. So they do step in pay when they move to their senior year. They become an HISD paid teacher resident. And we created this step scale and got it into our compensation manual. So they earn anywhere from $35,700 to $50,000. Some of them are 3-day one semester, 4-day the next semester. So we do give them a little bump in pay between the 2 semesters when they increase the days that they're on campus. One of the things we learned here that was really interesting was that $35,000 salary, that $35,700 was the bare minimum salary we could have them earn full benefits at. And it was really important to us that not receiving benefits was not going to be a barrier for our staff members. So on top of the pay, they do get full benefits in each one of these positions. And then you can see how they would progress through and they graduate. And again, their pay steps up again. So as a first-year teacher in the next year, they're earning anywhere from $70,000 to $83,000 as a first-year teacher. And then from there, they move up into the performance pay all the way up to $101,000. And we hope that our teachers, once they have been teaching for 3 years and they've earned that 3 years of experience, that they are becoming mentor teachers. And so we are just now reaching that point and reaching out to them to bring that cycle all the way back around. So our work with Texas Women's was really important in getting us started, and we've got a strong foundation with them. We are now expanding out to University of Houston downtown. So between Texas Women's and University of Houston downtown, their 2-year degree, through the work that we've done in partnering, they're able to get that down to about $8,000 for a 2-year degree. So that is really clearing the path for our teachers. They're no longer having to graduate with, mortgage level student loans. And so that is something that we are working for every single day. I wanted to share with you one of the supports that we provide in Houston. I have an entire team that is dedicated to supporting our residents and our Grow Your Own students through wraparound supports. So that starts all the way from recruitment when they're first entering Grow Your Own, and then circles all the way back around to recruitment when they are being hired into the position for a teacher of record for the next school year. So initially we start out with our non-degreed staff. We send out some interest emails, self-screeners, gather a little bit of information about what their needs were and what exactly the barriers were. And we heard a lot of things about, tuition and just the cost of living. A lot of people can't afford not to work and just to go to school. And so we are working with our registered apprenticeship to ensure that not only is the support tuition met from the HISD investment, but through those basic individualized needs and living expenses are covered as well. We have match day, which think about this like senior signing day for athletes. It is probably my favorite day of the whole year. We bring them all to our admin building. We invite our university partners. It's a big celebration for them of their new job. And then this year, we are also bringing back our residents who are now graduating in a full cap and gown style to celebrate their success. So we're going to get to see full circle with 2 groups, the incoming and the outgoing, who are now going to be teacher of record. We also work with principals to make sure that we're communicating exactly what residents can be doing on their campus and how they can support the needs of the campus overall. And then we work with principals to get those qualified mentors. So there's a mentor teacher application that we're implementing this year that is going to help us gather those high quality mentors. Now, we don't just develop our residents. We develop over the course of the year, we develop our mentors through Mentor Teacher Institute, where we're focused on building their leadership capacity. And then our residents attend monthly professional learning, which is aligned to our EVP, and it's building their leadership density from day one. So entering HISD, we're a high-performing culture, which means that we have high expectations, but they're met with high support. And so we want to make sure that we start that from day one with our residents. And then additionally, we're providing some certification study classes on Saturday mornings to support our residents and our Grow Your Own students who are working on their certification still. When it comes time for hiring, we support them through preparing for hiring with a workshop day, and then we get them VIP access at our hiring events. So that support has gone full circle at that point. We think about how Houston ISD, started in the registered apprenticeship. It's definitely not easy work, but it's work that makes an impact and it's work that's worth it, right? Every day I get up looking to do the work that I do. And so I think that's really special to have that. But as we got started, we realized we needed some additional support. And so NCGYO was really helpful with supporting us through that strategic and technical supports as we got our feet on the ground and got started with our registered apprenticeship. One of the first things that we needed to do was we need to get the district registered as an apprenticeship district. And so we did that with our partners at Department of Labor, and we registered as both an employer and a sponsor. And so then we needed to get the access to the RAPID system where we will enter information for our registered apprenticeship participants. When we worked with Texas Women's University on the Grow Your Own and bringing in the registered apprenticeship, we went back to our program design and took a look at what do we need and what do they need to ensure that this is great for their students and great for us. So that communication doesn't stop in just that line by line MOU review, but that continues on monthly. So I meet with leaders for a strategic meeting monthly for the upcoming month or upcoming season. And then there's also a tactical meeting once a month where my CTMs and my coordinators meet with site coordinators from the university, basically the boots on the ground, to talk about the individual students and what needs to be done there. With Gulf Coast Workforce Solutions, we were listed as an ETPL, an eligible training provider. We needed to get on that list so that we could move forward in our registered apprenticeship. And then they're supporting with the Work in Texas application. We had our participants fill that out. And then the eligibility will be determined by Texas Workforce Solutions. And we are working on our OJL and our OJT hours as well. This is some ways that we accessed some of our funding. So we did have to get on the RFP grant distribution list with our friends at Department of Labor and Texas Workforce Commission. And then we recently had some state prep allotments that have come in from Texas Education Agency for different pathways to becoming a teacher. And so we have accessed that and should be getting that funding in the fall to help continue our support of this program and our future teachers in HISD. And then upcoming, we know that there are some additional prep allotments that are coming for traditional program student teachers and the alternative certification program. So we're looking forward to diving into that work as well. Our next steps right now, we're still deep in this work. So we've got our first group. We've got about 14 in the system. And our first group will begin this process in the fall. And so we will be unlocking that two-way funding for the registered apprentices, but also for the district in the form of wage reimbursement. We are currently looking at the 2,000 hours and building out that scope and sequence for their professional learning and what that looks like to ensure they can meet those goals. As I wrap up today, thank you for your time. I did want to go ahead and make a plug for our LinkedIn profiles. Elizabeth Garcia is not here today, but she is our Senior Executive Director of Teacher Certification. And she and I, if you would like to connect, would love to talk more about registered apprenticeship and continue to collaborate on the work that we're all doing for teachers. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Ashley. Thank you, Ashley, so much for the time.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Nash. We really appreciate that. Just really robust overview of your program there in HISD. And something that really resonated with me is you started out with talking about how teacher preparation really is important because of the student outcomes, and that the student outcomes continues to be your North Star in Houston ISD. And so I just really appreciate that. And then something else that I really found impactful is you address the full educator continuum. So you started with the teacher preparation, and then what are those other opportunities for growth and development and leadership. And so that's really awesome to see, and love the practical ways that folks can kind of get started with this work and scale as well. So thank you again for sharing. We really appreciate it. So now let's join me in welcoming our colleagues from the Indianapolis Public Schools in Indianapolis, Indiana. Dina Durish, who is the manager of teacher preparation, and Dwayne Marshall, the director of talent and acquisition. Thanks for joining us. I'll turn it over to you, Dwayne.
Thanks, Ashley. Good afternoon, everyone. As Ashley said, my name is Dwayne Marshall. I serve as the friendly director of talent acquisition on the HR team here at Indianapolis Public Schools, and am joined by my esteemed colleague, Dina Durish. We titled our session today, Systems Over Cycles, because we've all been there. You know the current way you're doing things could be better, but reimagining a new way feels incredibly time-consuming. Combined with competing priorities, the status quo usually wins out year after year. For us, when we began first learning about the concept of registered teacher apprenticeships back in 2023, it was exactly the nudge we needed to finally break out of that status quo. So to understand why we felt compelled to build our own path, you have to better understand our context. IPS is the largest district in the state of Indiana, serving over 20,000 students. And while we are in the geographic middle, we are a demographic outlier. The state of Indiana is about 62% white, our student body, and IPS is 82% persons of color. That unique gap is a big reason why the standard way of doing things wasn't working for us. So research tells us that having just one same-race teacher significantly improves outcomes for students of color. We have an 82% BIPOC student body, but only a 29% BIPOC workforce. Traditional programs in Indiana produce only about 10% BIPOC graduates, but 65% of our own paraprofessionals we found are BIPOC. So the talent for us is already in our buildings. The barrier for these staff members, for many of these staff members, isn't necessarily the degree itself, it's the opportunity cost of getting the degree. Traditional paths mean years of balancing work and school, unpaid student teaching, taking on massive debt. The IPS Registered Teacher Apprenticeship Program changes that calculus, allows them to earn while they learn, with low to no cost tuition and wraparound supports to boot. Now Dina will take the virtual mic and show you kind of how we built it.
Perfect, thanks, Dwayne. So we had really great plans of starting with an apprenticeship. So we received U.S. Department of Labor apprenticeship approval for our registered teacher apprenticeship a couple of years ago, but we started planning long before that with the support of National Center for Grow Your Own. We were one of the first 15 states or districts, excuse me, I think, to be part of the district network. We surveyed our staff. We found out what their interests were and what they wanted to teach, if they wanted to teach, what barriers they had when they were wanting to become teachers, but weren't able to do so. We also looked at what program components they would appreciate and value as we were designing our program. And then we started an application process for candidates, at the same time starting an application process for our college and university partners. What we found is that the 60 credits, many of our team members, although they may thought they had enough to get to that 60 credits, what we found is many of them had started pathways in very specific programs. And so a lot of those credits didn't necessarily transfer into an education pathway. And so we can see on the right that the ultimate goal is to get to the 2-year teacher apprenticeship at Marian University, which I'll talk about in just a second. But what we learned really quickly is that it was really important to build the runway first. So although we did start the program with 3 apprentices at Marian University in the full apprenticeship this year, we also realized that we very quickly had to open up a pathway for pre-apprenticeships to sort of build our bench, so to speak. And so we started with 8 of those pre-apprentices this year in that sort of orange phase there. And then the other 3, if you go to the next slide, those others, the other 3 did actually go ahead and go into our full apprenticeship. And so that is a partnership with Marian University. We did select them after a lot of conversations, a lot of discussions about, number one, willingness to help us build the blueprint, if you will. This was uncharted territory in, first of all, across the United States, we realized, but then also specifically in Indiana. And so we really wanted a partner that was going to be nimble and be able to walk the walk with us while we learned the process and all those requirements. And then we also wanted a partner that would really help us build out the on-the-job learning along with their coursework. And so the selection of Marian University was a great partnership and has been a great partnership for us. So folks enter that program, and you can see there they complete the 2-year degree and then become the fully licensed teacher after that. So throughout the partnership, we do have a mentor teacher / journey worker / what we're calling apprentice coach. And so we do provide training and support and have a selection process similar to Houston. So I'm excited to learn more about what you all are doing and maybe collaborate on some of those things. But we provide that apprentice coach for them throughout the full 2 years. And so one of the things that we also are really excited about is that we do provide release time for our staff during the day to participate in coursework and complete their on-the-job learning. So the next slide will show the 2 primary components. Again, what we learned when we were becoming a registered teacher apprenticeship is speaking the language of the U.S. Department of Labor. And so the OJLs, or on-the-job learning, are aligned, the activities that are aligned with our competencies that were approved by the U.S. Department of Labor in our Appendix A application. And so these all happen within the school setting, within the classroom where our apprentices currently are. They look to their apprentice coach and or other teachers in the building for support, guidance, opportunities to complete those experiences. And this year, we've also been really excited to partner with Craft Education because we know that it's really important to have a portal that will help us document those on-the-job learning hours. And so the apprentice has a full view of what they're learning and when they're learning it. Also, those on-the-job learning experiences, as I mentioned, are 100% aligned. We spent a year, almost 18 months, co-planning with Marian University to ensure that the 900 hours of coursework that they are providing as the RTI provider are also aligned with the on-the-job learning experiences. So our apprentices take 4 courses, education courses per semester. They're divided into 2 8-week terms. And so those are courses that they participate in online. They have assignments, obviously, but it's very self-paced online learning opportunities. And then again, the assignments that they're turning in are demonstrating the competencies in the content area of that course, but also overlap with their on-job learning. So one of the things that we learned is very quickly that Indiana is not a state registered apprenticeship state, an SAA state. You may hear that language. And so if you think about the next slide shows us there are two options when you are looking to become an apprentice, a registered apprentice. Because we are not a state sponsored, we have to go through the U.S. Department of Labor. And so we had two choices. We could partner with an intermediary for that approval, or we could partner with another higher ed institution, or we could offer that opportunity ourselves. And so on the left, it shows some of the components if we decided to not be the sponsor. Obviously, it's a little bit less work. So somebody else is taking care of those USDOL requirements. But we also knew we had limited flexibility. There were, limited frameworks within which we had to operate. So we decided that we would apply and become a self-sponsored apprenticeship. We were the first. And to our knowledge, still today, we are the only district-sponsored registered teacher apprenticeship within Indiana. And so while we realize that the administrative burden is there, but it has allowed us a lot more autonomy to continue to build out our program and be more customized. And so that sort of leads us to our next slide, which shows us the next opportunity that we have embarked on, which is a special education pathway. So I think I neglected to mention our first pathway was primarily for elementary. It was the elementary certification program and degree through Marian University, but we are now beginning a recruitment cycle. We will be partnering with Western Governors University for this, so we've been working with them to go through the similar process we mentioned with Marian. But what this allows us to do is tap into our 125 existing special ed paraprofessionals and create a really exciting new pathway for them. And then hopefully in the future, we will then journey into secondary education and thinking about that. So exciting opportunities ahead. So I will pass things over to Dwayne to share the next part about funding.
Hey, thanks, Tina. Hello again, everybody. We're talking about the funding part of things. So there is a structural reality in this work, I think, that requires us to be honest about. This work carries with it a high degree of financial vulnerability. So we've all seen programs in other states that are fortunate enough to have full funding through major state grants or massive philanthropic gifts. And admittedly, I'm envious. We're envious and jealous. We'd love to be in that position. However, that lack of those single massive streams in Indiana really, in the end, or now actually has become, I think, one of our greatest strategic advantages. So it forced us to realize that relying on a single grant anywhere kind of creates a single point of failure. So grants are inherently volatile. They have expiration dates. Renewals are never a guarantee. We knew that we couldn't build a truly stable system if we were constantly holding our breath and waiting for the next grant funding cycle. So my personal and professional mantra is make few promises, keep them all. We didn't want to promise a life-changing opportunity, a life-changing career path to an employee only to have to pull the rug out because a particular grant disappeared. The following slide shows our funding stack and our way of braiding diverse sources together so that the program stays on its feet and we can honor those promises that we made to our employees. So here's the how. This is the stack we use to make good on those promises of a low to no cost pathway. We start by identifying our foundation at the bottom, which is our local dollars. We call this the 75% backstop. So to give our employees real peace of mind when they're deciding if this program is for them or not, we commit the equivalent of 75% of an apprentice's tuition as a guarantee. This allows our staff to plan their household budgets around an actual number rather than kind of holding their breath and waiting for an unknown financial aid package. But here's how we manage the district's money responsibly. Layer 2 is actually applied first. So we work with our university partners to ensure every apprentice completes their FAFSA, maximizes federal, Pell, and state aid before anything else. And to be clear, Pell Grants are not loans, they're gift aid that doesn't have to be repaid. By applying this layer first, we significantly reduce the amount that the district has to spend from that backstop, and in some cases, those sources can even cover the cost entirely. From there, we layer in layer 3, workforce and federal funds. We use ESEA Title II-A, Indiana Commission for Higher Education dollars, Indiana Department of Workforce Development dollars. Specifically, we use Title II to fund some of our summer courses for those apprentices who were a little short of that 60 credit mark. And we used our CHE dollars to fund our apprentice coach stipends, which are about $3,000 a year. And then finally, at the peak, we have our external subsidies or philanthropy. This top layer gives us some flexibility to cover potential tuition gaps or supplies. The proof of this stack is in the results this past year because we were able to secure funds at all 4 levels. Not a single one of our apprentices or pre-apprentices took on a penny of tuition debt. So our blueprint is, or our lessons learned, are start with existing staff, build that runway, and focus on the system. Then I'll close with a quote from Atomic Habits author James Clear. Goals are for people who care about winning once. Systems are for people who care about winning repeatedly. There are a lot of different ways to fill vacancies year after year, and all programs have their function in place, but we're focused with this program on long-term rootedness. So when you invest in the people who already call your community home, they stay. We're building a system to ensure IPS students have talented, diverse teachers who are here for the long haul. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Dwayne and Dina, for that presentation. I think the funding and how do we ensure that sustainability of these initiatives is very important, probably top of mind for most district leaders. And you all are an exemplar of how you've been able to accomplish that. And so I could definitely see where you will be contacted by some of our colleagues that are listening in today or after today with the recording of the session and asking just how you were able to accomplish that, because ultimately, to your point, Dwayne, it's great to have funding from the state level that might be a shot in the arm or seed funding, if you will, but to have truly a sustainable system and be able to leverage funding that's within your district locus of control, I think is critical for the sustainability of registered apprenticeships. So thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate your thoughts and your lessons learned. If anybody that's listening on today has any questions that you'd like to ask either Dr. Nash or the IPS team, feel free to drop them into the chat or the Q&A feature, if you will. We're happy to answer those live at the end, and we're also happy to kind of type in those answers as we go as well. So yeah, once again, just thank you, Dina and Dwayne, for those sentiments. We really appreciate it, and love getting to hear how practitioners are actually implementing and accomplishing their goals. So thank you for that. All right, so last but not least, help me in welcoming Ms. Barb Miller with Lincoln Public Schools in Lincoln, Nebraska. Barb serves as the Emerging Educators Empowerment Specialist, and with that, I'm going to pass it to you, Barb.
Thanks so much, Ashley. It's exciting to have an opportunity to share with you a little bit about what's going on in Lincoln with Lincoln Public Schools. Our programming is a little bit different in that we have 3 different pathways, if you would. We've got a paraeducator to teacher pathways, and that is focusing on our special education needs. And then we moved into apprenticeships, and throughout all of that, we have our early childhood avenues. And we are really specifically focusing on areas that we had some significant needs within Lincoln Public Schools. And that really was in our special education area, as well as our early childhood. And our programming is a little different in that we started, and we can move on to the next slide. We started our cadre or our programming with a connection with our with University of Nebraska-Lincoln. It was a combination for both our public schools as well as the university. And we built a program that was a 2.5-year program for our para. It was for current paras that were post-bac, and we had that in place in 2023. And then in 2024, our state funding kicked in. Nebraska became a state-funded apprenticeship programming, and we were one because we had the programming already in place. We were able to take advantage of the Nebraska Teacher Registered Apprenticeships that they offered. And so that was with our second cadre. All focusing on special education. With our second cadre, it was actually an apprenticeship. It was a 1-year program. One of the things that was really beneficial with those with the cadres was our connection with UNL. So it was actually state-sponsored through our university, and then the university and our public school, Lincoln Public Schools, actually built the programming. We then moved on to our third cadre, which also, again, was another apprenticeship. And we actually opened up our offerings for our classified staff, so that it wasn't necessarily post-bac. It was with those that had associates as well. And since we are working with with UNL, they really worked diligently with us to with the programming to make sure that the paras had the materials that they need and had the education that they needed, and a lot of the information that they got in terms of their classes were really taken care of with competency checks on the job, so that there were some outside classes. They were really focused around the job, so that their experiences really were developed in conjunction with the university. So since it was a state-sponsored, there are multiple colleges that take advantage of it. So we actually are partnering with Midland University as well in Nebraska. For Midland's experience, we are looking at elementary education with the special education endorsement. And again, focusing with those that are identified as interested classified staff. We were able to incorporate some colleagues who were not necessarily paras. We reached out. We had office workers that were interested. We had bus drivers. We had food service workers that were interested, that we were able to bring on and work with our cadres as well. And our fifth cadre, again, is our UNL apprentices, and it's with associated classified staffs. So going back to 2023, we actually have had an opportunity to take advantage of state grants throughout. And if you go on to the next slide, we also have early childhood avenues. And again, those started with a UNL LPS connection, building a program. And then when the state funding dropped, or the state grants with the registered apprenticeships dropped, we were able to just roll those opportunities in as well. So LPS and UNL built programs And then the funding source moved from LPS as well as connections with UNL into the registered apprenticeship grant funding. So we were able to focus on getting the experiences for our current employees and giving them those opportunities. And then after the 2 years or year and a half, we were able to get them hired on. Our first apprenticeship was 2.5, or our first opportunity, our first pathway, cadre was 2.5 years. The second was a 1 year. We started in the summer of 2024, and then it was a 1 year apprentice, and those apprentices were completed within that year and able to be certified for hire at the start of this school year. And then we kind of settled on a year and a half for that piece. I'll have you go on to the next slide. As I take a look at our funding sources with our para pathways, we started with LPS funding and UNL combined funding for our first pathway. And then the Department of Education and the United States Department of Labor with that sponsored grant for apprenticeships took over the funding for that. And so our human resources budget is actually able to then focus on supporting our mentor teachers. So we have 5 different apprenticeships that are working currently, and we are actually looking at taking advantage of our next as well. And in those situations, the apprentices are employed with LPS for the duration of their apprenticeships as paraeducators, and their education is totally paid for. Books, they incur no billing for the apprenticeship, and then they are able to come back and work for us as LPS certified special educators, or in our early childhood inclusive educators. And if you take a look at that next slide, and I will be very brief, I will share the video of our LPS Grow Your Own. I'm not hearing the.
And people don't necessarily stray far, so this is a great place to look for future educators. One of the areas that we needed filled was special education, so that was our focus. It is a program in which apprentices or parents are able to take classes on the job.
I'm extremely grateful for the program. I wasn't quite sure what my next step in my career wanted to be, but I knew I wanted to stay in LPS, and they pay for your schooling. I mean, you can't turn that down. The program is to help staff who are in LPS and who have a desire to become a teacher. It gives you the perfect training. In-class resources, you get out-of-class resources. The access to LPS staff is tremendous. UNL professors are amazing too.
If someone would have told me I would be doing this 10 years ago, I would have laughed with them, honestly. But here I am. Who has played Jeopardy before? I just see a few people. Which one is the 1,000th place?
It really is about figuring out a systematic way to identify paras and employees that have a passion for teaching so that they are able to come home and work for LPS.
I applied as a para here at Park in the recovery room, and Charlotte hired me. And actually, I think it was Charlotte that put the bug in my ear about it and really just suggested that I apply. She thought I'd be a great fit.
Tanner was one of the first paras that I hired. And I know that out of his interview, one of his goals was to be an educator. And so to be able to watch him go from a para role all the way up into being able to be an apprentice last year was really amazing. And I think it was also amazing because we got to keep him.
Remember, we go 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0. So it really took all the pressure out. I didn't have to apply to colleges, and I didn't have to figure out how I was going to come up with thousands of dollars to pay tuition. Really, they just took care of it and let us focus on the learning and growing as a teacher. Mine's cool.
He just has such a way with kids and help them get to their potential. So to be able to see him do that in the classroom setting, where he's making even a bigger impact with your kids, has been really amazing to see.
I think just being able to help and assist people has always been something that I'm interested in. Awesome. Yeah, being able to do it in a school, in a classroom, it's been the perfect decision so far.
It really does put it into perspective, and really it makes you value the things that are the most important. I love this community, not just this community where our school is, but Lincoln's home. So anything we can do as parts of society to embellish that or make it better, I'm all about it. Have a great weekend. I'll clean up the room. And guess what? You're all winners.
That was our first apprenticeship cadre, and all of those apprentices are now certified teachers with Lincoln Public Schools. We have 5 special education pathway cadres, 14 former paras that are now certified teachers. 12 paras will be certified starting this fall. And then coming to 2027, we will have 17 additional. And our fingers are crossed that we are able to start another cadre in the spring of 2027 as well, because we have a whole lot of employees that this is just changing their trajectory, that they didn't think that was a possibility. They've been paras in special education classrooms and have a gift, but could not financially see a way or a pathway to get certified. And this is a very clear pathway for them. And it is definitely, I have already had several employees reach out to ask when we are starting it again, because it is such a game changer for our community. Looking at our lessons learned, interview and selection process was huge. Now, I don't have lessons learned about the building necessarily of the program, just because we built it in conjunction with the university, so that we were able to be very flexible in identifying what the classes were and have it geared really specific to LPS, because our goal is for them to then have an opportunity to work with us. Another piece that we learned was our host school preparation, and really being connected with our host schools so that they have a clear idea and buy-in to the program, because we are working with paras that are fulfilling student needs, but also needing to learn how to teach in that capacity, and as well as selection of our mentor teachers, because it really required some flexibility and thinking outside of the box on how to make sure that the needs are covered, along with the needs of the students as well as the needs of the apprentices. And another big piece, Tanner kind of alluded to, was that at this point we have principals who are reaching out, and coordinators who are reaching out because they have these very strong paras that need to be teachers. And so we are filling our seats with the right people. And if you have any information or any questions for me, my contact information is right there. And I'll turn it back
Awesome.
to Ashley.
Yeah, thank you so much, Barb. We really appreciate you for expanding and exploring your model that you're implementing there at Lincoln Public Schools. I think you mentioned it there at the end with the principal being kind of a key role in identifying paraprofessionals that would be excellent apprentices and excellent teachers in the near future. And so I loved where Tanner said, he wanted to be an educator, but it really was his principal that suggested that he apply for this. And so that kind of principal role being key in the identification and selection of your apprentices so that you can ensure that they are the right fit and that they persist through the apprenticeship. I think that's awesome. Thank you for that message for sure. Want to thank everybody, all of our presenters again. We really appreciate your messages today. Definitely heard some some threads that tie all of these presentations together. Addressing your local needs, it's something that at the district level you can do really well. Obviously, your needs. Barbie mentioned the need for special education teachers. Dwayne, you mentioned the need for your teacher population to better reflect your student population. So yeah, that is a thread that ties all of these presentations together. Funding is paramount, and figuring that out early is kind of key to sustainability. Love that. And then just every single one of you has such passion for this work and for ensuring, again, that students have not only the teachers that they need, but they deserve. And with that, we appreciate you all for joining us this afternoon. We will have a recording of this webinar up on our website. So if you have a colleague that you'd like to share it with that you feel like could benefit, feel free. We'll have it up this week sometime. So feel free to grab that link and share it with your colleagues. We appreciate you once again for your time. Take care, everybody.